Amanda here. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is class 1 for the Nostalgic Christmas hybrid journal. I had to think what I was doing then. Obviously, as I've said previously, you can use any collection, paper collection you like. I will be using the Nostalgic Christmas. I have shared a video previously where I've discussed putting my signatures together. I'll link that in the description box below. Tells you all about this class. And so it is a free class. All of the videos are going to be here, right here on YouTube, so that you can watch at your leisure. You can pause, fast forward, speed me up, mute the sound, whatever you like. And if you save the video, okay, then you can refer back to it. I will add all of the tutorials. So I'll do tutorials in stages rather than one long one. All of the tutorials will be saved to my Journaling Joy monthly journals playlist. I will link that in the description box below as well. I would advise that you save that playlist in your YouTube settings. You can save playlists, okay, so that you can always go back and find it. So I'm going to be doing a wrapped chipboard cover. Sometimes I use the fabric tape method. Today I'm going to just use cardstock, bearing in mind that not everybody has access to the fabric tape. So I have got a front and a back cover and a spine piece. So I'm an A4 size paper user, so these are designed for my sizing. I'll tell you how to do it in letter size as well. So if you're an A4 user, I do mine the same every time, 8.5 by 6 on the covers, okay, and then the spine is 8.5 by 2.5 for this one. If you're a letter size user or you don't use A4, and I have said this before, the math of how I work out my covers, okay, you want to get your pages, measure the height of your pages and then add 1/2 inch. That is the height of your cover. Measure the width of your pages and then add 1/4 inch. You only need 1/4 inch on this side. You don't need a gap at this side. That then makes your covers, okay, 1/4 inch taller there, 1/4 inch longer there, and 1/4 inch wider there. It's just a nice size that I like to do. If you want to do your own sizing, you absolutely can. But your spine needs to be the same height as your covers, and it needs to be 2.5 inches wide, whatever size you're using. So I've got A3 cardstock here, and I have lined my chipboard with tape. So the tape will stop it shifting once it's on my cardstock. If I use just glue, it can move once I've lined it up. If I use a combination of tape and glue, the tape will hold it steady while the glue dries. So I have this tool, I've shown it before. This is a book cover binding tool or book cover binding spacer tool. Have a look on Amazon. It's just really useful and really inexpensive. So here we've got, it's 1 inch thick. Okay, I like to have 1 inch border all the way around my pieces for wrapping over. It's just a nice size. So I can put this tool, and I'm lining it up with the very edge of my cardstock at the top and at the left side, and I'll leave it there. And then just make sure it's nice and straight. And then I get my first piece, okay. I can remove my tape. I always burnish it first. I use Scorpal tape when I'm making these, because Scorpal tape is, in my opinion, the best tape you can get. It is not cheap, okay, it isn't, but I will only use it for this kind of thing. I'll use cheap tape if I'm making, I don't know, ephemera or little pockets for things or card making. But if I'm making a journal, mini album or folio, I use Scorpal tape because it's a false economy using anything any less. So I've got my tape all the way around, and then I can go in with my glue. Okay, I use Coal Lal glue. Now it is a solvent based glue, very much like Fabri-Tac or Beacon. And the reason that a solvent glue is good is it has a low water content. It dries clear. Your PVA glues have got a lot of water in them. This is solvent based, so it makes the glue dry faster. And because it's drying faster, it's not making your paper that you're sticking it to warp. That's why we use it. So now I can put this and I can butt it right up there, and that's going to be nice and straight. I can smooth out that glue so that I don't have any lumps and bumps when I turn it over, and the tape there will stop it shifting while that glue dries. Okay, then I get my tool and I use this section here. If you don't have one of these tools, all you need to do is mark a 1-inch border top and side on your paper, and then in between here, the gaps, this is a 1/8 of an inch gap. You want a minimum of 2 pieces of chipboard, whatever size you use. So get some scrap if you're using chipboard, put 2 pieces together. That's the space you need in between. Okay, if you're using recycled paper or anything, recycled card or boxes or cereal box or anything like that, make sure you're leaving at least a 1/8 of an inch gap. Because what that 1/8 of an inch gap is for is, if, let me explain, if that was right up against there, then it's not going to open. Okay, these 2 pieces are going to bash against each other, it's not going to open. Also, because we are wrapping it with cardstock, we need room here to wrap it with the cardstock. The cardstock's going to also go in the gusset. So in that gusset, you've got the thickness of the chipboard and you've also got the dimensions of your cardstock. So you need at least 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes I'll do 1/4 if I want it really flexible. Okay, so that's the whys and the wherefores. You'll have to excuse me, I do have a very shabby looking dressing gown on, which I wear in my craft room when it's cold to keep me warm. So I'm removing my tape on my spine. Okay, and I'm going to add some glue. If you've got any questions, I do tend to talk quite fast because I'm mindful of moving the video along so that it doesn't drag on. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I answer just about every single comment that's made. Unless it's a video with like thousands of views, you know, and it'd take me forever and 10 months to answer them all. I will answer all of your comments, okay? Right, so I'm just making sure that that's a nice gap, and it is, so I can smooth that down. My tape will hold it in place. So this is A3. If you don't have A3, you can totally use 12 by 12, and you will need to join them together. Okay, when you're joining 12 by 12s together, okay, so let me just pretend this is another sheet of 12 by 12, and that's a sheet of 12 by 12. When you're joining them, make sure the join is lined up in your back, on your back cover. Don't have the join where you've joined your pages to get where you've joined your cardstock together going down your spine or down a gusset. It'll look ugly, and if you have it ends up in a gusset, it will come undone. So if you're having to join your paper together, make sure that you line these pieces up so that the back of your journal cover is lined up with the join of the paper. It's just going to give you better results, okay? But I can only advise you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you my advice from what I've learned from making lots and lots of mistakes. Okay, I'm not being bossy. I'm just trying to save you making mistakes that I've made over the years. And then through experience, you learn to do it a better way. Okay, I'm not saying my way is the way or the only way. I'm just showing you. Disclaimer. Okay, before anybody says, well, so-and-so does it this way, or I like to do it that way. You do it however you feel comfortable doing it. There's no right or wrong. Okay? There is no right or wrong. I can only share my experience of how I do things so that it works for me. And if you follow the steps carefully, it will work for you as well, I promise you. Okay, so now I've got this piece. I'm going to hold that so that it's nice and firm, and I'm going to line that up and try and get it as straight as I can. I'm just going to quickly check that it's straight there, and it is, and yes, it's fine. So then I'm going to smooth it. And remember, don't worry too much if something's not perfect. Do not take life too seriously. Okay, it's meant to be fun. Don't be gritting your teeth. Don't be getting your hair off. None of that. Nothing matters. It's just paper. Right. So now you'll notice, because I've used A3, I've got my papers too big at the bottom there, my cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to give myself a 1-inch border, which I can never remember where's 1 inch on here. 1, 2, 3, I think it's that one. So I'm just going to draw myself a 1-inch border across the length of my cardstock. If you keep it straight, it just makes your life easier. Okay, it just does. And then I'm going to cut that off. I don't want it, so I cut it off. Okay, and you can use a craft knife. I'm a bit lethal with a craft knife. I'm a bit dangerous. My hand-eye coordination is not brilliant, okay? I've got very bad eyes and I wear very, very thick, very high prescription glasses. So I don't always get everything perfect, okay? So now what I can do with this tool, where this corner is, I can put it against the corner of my book there, and I can draw a pencil mark. And what that's doing is we're going to cut across that, and that is about 1/8 of an inch, okay? Because that's roughly how much you need to make sure that when that coat goes over there, it's hiding the chipboard at the corner. Roughly 1/8 of an inch. All right, if you cut it too close, then when you wrap it, you will see the chipboard. If that happens, okay, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. There's always a workaround. If when you've wrapped it, you can see chipboard anywhere on your cover, okay, it'll only be a tiny bit, but it'll bug you. Grab yourself a permanent marker, like a Sharpie or such like, and colour it in. Nobody will be any the wiser. I promise you. So now I've made those marks. You can totally do this by eye, but I do like to, you know, I've got wonky eyes. So if I can use a tool that's going to help me get it a bit straighter so that I've got a bit of a better finish, then that's I should have, what you should do before you do that, if you're using tape, is put your tape on so that you're getting edge to edge coverage. You really should. You really should before you do your cutting. And I completely and utterly forgot. So I'm going to have to go edge to edge and then trim it. I forgot. If you're gluing, you can omit this bit. Okay, it doesn't matter. I don't want any tape missing on that slanty bit there, for want of a better word. Okay. I just trim that. And here, I want it all nicely covered so that I haven't got any bits that don't want to stick. Okay. Right. So I should have done that and I forgot. So now I'm going to cut across where I've done the marks. Cut that off, and then it cuts the tape, and then the tape's going right up to the edge. Okay, so you haven't got any areas that don't have tape on if you're using tape. Because then all it'll mean is that it doesn't stick your corners down. Whoops! Perfectly. If you're just using glue, you can just use glue. And you like to use tape because it's quicker for me for the video. So what I'm also going to do is add tape along here. Let me just think now. If I do it about there, I'm just going to go a little bit down there, and I'm going to come across my chipboard, and I'm going to stop at the edge there, and then I'm going to push that tape right up against the edge of that chipboard, right into the gusset, and right up against the edge of the next piece. So I'm not pulling it straight across in a straight line. I'm going into those gussets. Okay, get off. And obviously you can do it with a bone folder, but I like to do it with my thumb so that I know it's right in there. Okay, and that will just help you make sure that this section here goes right into the gussets. And I'm going to do the same here. So I'm just going a little bit further up so that the tape's going to stick onto this bit. Okay. So again, right in with my thumb, or use a tool so that it's right up against the edge of that chipboard. Then it's down in the gusset, right down to the cardstock. Then it's up against that edge. Same again over here. Okay, so we're not pulling it straight across. We want to go right in. It'll just give you a better finish, and it will help you avoid. You can never 100% say that it's not going to crack when you're making a book cover. Never 100%, but you can do things to avoid it. Okay, avoid it. I'm going to just burnish that in there. I'm going to burnish all of that so that it's easy for me to lift off. Right, so I tend to start with the longer sides. So what I do is I will lift, pushing down with the chipboard, lift that longer section. Or do I want to start with the shorter edge? Let me think, which is the tidiest way of doing it? I don't suppose it really matters. So what I'm doing here is I'm lifting those edges to give that cardstock some memory. Okay, you're breaking the fibres and giving it some memory. Okay, this is why we use good quality cardstock. If you use good quality cardstock, you can be a little bit firmer with it and it won't rip or tear. Okay, so, and I go right in with my bone folder and push it right up against the edges of that chipboard. Okay, right, so I'm going to start with the sides, I think. So I will take the tape off the sides. All right, and then I could actually do with some more tape. Some more tape just down the side here again, just slightly up so that it corresponds with the edge where I've got a gap. But again, if you're using glue, that's fine. Just make sure it's a good glue, because if you use cheap PVA, all it's going to do is warp your cardstock and make it all buckled and look a bit pants. So I'm just going to lift that up out of my way. Sorry if you can see my dressing gown full of distress ink and goodness knows what. Okay, but I'm a crafter. I am a real life crafter. Don't have a fancy craft room. I don't have fancy clothes, and I don't have a fancy voice. I'm a real life crafter. Right, let's remove this tape. Okie doke. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure it's really tight against the edge and I can push it over. Okay, and I literally will push it. All right, and this is the joy of a good quality tape. It's down. I don't have to wait for it to dry. It's down. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around. I'm just going to lift these bits of tape back in out of the way so they're not in my way. Okay, I'm not peeling them all the way off, otherwise I'll have my arms stuck to it. I'll get an arthritis was. I'll just take it off a little bit. Okay, and fold it out of the way. Fold it out of the way. Remove this. Okay, so I'm lifting that side up. Again, I'm always making sure it's right up against that lip, and then I'm going to push it over. Push, 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 and you can be quite firm with that. And then make sure you burnish all the way top and bottom. Right, so now we're going to do the longer sides. All right, so what you want to do in the first instance, you'll see where you've cut, you're going to have a little overlap there. So what I do is, and I'm going to show you as close as I can, I will press it down right like so, and then I kind of try and push it away. So like that. And you're trying to get that as flat as you can. Okay, and if you've added your tape or your glue right to the very edges, then that will stay down out of your way. Okay, and you'll get a neat finish. And I'm going to do it at this side as well. So I push it in with my nail so that I'm right up against the edge of that chipboard, and then flatten it with my bone folder and kind of press it inwards so it's going that way. Okay, and I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. Now when you glue in, you'll have to do it one side at a time. Okay, maybe, yeah, you will, because you'll have to do it as you're wrapping it. Whereas the beauty of tape is you can do some of the things first. Let me just get that. I need to get that flush with the edge of that. There we go. Want it nice and squared off. Right. So now I can remove all of my tape. Now on this bit, you don't want to just fold it and just run it flat, because you want this to go in those gussets there. Okay, so what I do is I will start and I will just try and attach it to there, and then I really want to go into that gusset area. So before I commit, I'm going to try and make sure very gently but firmly that that's in there. And this is far easier with the fabric tape, which is why that's the method that I actually prefer now. But I thought I'd do a cardstock wrapped one, okay, today. And then you want to put the rest on and give that a burnish, okay. Here, wrap it over. Okay. And then when I come to here, I want to try my best to get it in there. If I use that pointy bit there, I'm under pressure that I might unintentionally rip my cardstock because I'm quite heavy-handed. So I'm just being very careful. I'm just lifting it up gently and I'm moulding that cardstock into that gusset carefully, a little bit at a time. Okay. And lift that up at the same time. And eventually you'll give your paper some memory. Little tiny movements. Okay. Don't go in like a bull in a china shop like I sometimes do. Alright. And eventually that will get its memory and it will be nice and neat. So we're going to do the same at this side. Okay, I've got some tape overhang there. I don't want that. Get off. Get off. Okay. This is quite thick card, so I've got to be quite firm with it. Okay. There we go. Push it over. Wrap it around. And then when I get to come to my gussets, I'm going to gently mould it in. I use the curved end first. Gently mould it in and pressing gently but firmly to give that paper some memory so that it will go in there. And I'll probably work on that a little bit more, you know, when I'm confident it's not going to split. Okay, so I'll just lift that up carefully, and really you want that cardstock to adhere to the cardstock underneath. Okay, but just be careful. All right, just going to do a bit more work on that because I like it neat. Okay. But I don't want to break that card. I don't want to split it. So a little bit at a time. Don't stress over it too much. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, okay? You probably don't need to stress over it as much as I am doing currently. Then if any of my corners look a bit off, you can literally bash them like that at the side and then give it an extra burnish. Okay, and you will get a nice, neat result. Don't worry if it's not perfect, especially if it's the first time you've ever done it. Okay, do not worry. All right, give that an extra burnish, and that's that all done now, and that's nicely wrapped, and the corners are fairly decent. So then what you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of cardstock and you're going to cover over that. Okay, again, gently working into the gussets, and you want to cut your piece, measure your book covers, measure the whole thing, and you want your cardstock to be 1/4 of an inch shorter on the width and 1/4 of an inch shorter on the height. Do we? Or do we want, yeah, 1/4 of an inch, then that gives you an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Okay, so I'm just going to go and cut my piece, then we'll put that down, and then I'll show you the funky spine piece that is going to enable us to have both 2 journal signatures and 2 funky mini album style pages. I'll be back in a moment. I've changed my mind. We're not going to cover all of this with black cardstock, okay? Because I think for a lot of people it would mean piecing up bits, okay, which I don't want you to do that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put a piece over here, and then we don't need to put anything on here. We can just use our patterned paper, or we may well be putting a folio pocket or something, so it doesn't matter about here, okay? So what I want you to do is get a piece of cardstock that's the same. It wants to be, the height wants to be 8 1/4. Let me just see if this piece of paper's right. 8 1/4. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's 8 1/4. And I want you to cut it to 4 1/2 inches. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue in the gusset. Okay, not quite that much, Amanda. Blimey. Far too much in there. Okay, I'll just spread it on there, it's fine. Far too much. Where am I going to wipe that now? Don't go mad with your glue like I do. Right. Put some glue in your gussets. Put some glue on here. Okay. And then just some on the side there. And then you want to put some all the way around the edge of your piece. So 4 1/2 by 8 1/4. If your journal is a different height to mine, this wants to be 1/4 inch shorter than the height of your journal. So if you're an American size, you are letter size user, sorry, measure your cover, make this piece 1/4 inch shorter. The width wants to be the same, 4 1/2. So what you want to do is you want to centre it. Okay. Have a look where your gussets are. Doesn't matter terribly if it's not 100% perfectly straight. Okay, we're not going to stress about that. And then what you want to do is you want to press it in the centre of the spine, and then where your fold is, you want to start and work that cardstock into that gusset. Okay, and this is why wet glue is good, because it'll make your paper a bit more supple. Okay, and then here the same. The only thing is, with glue it shifts, which can be a little bit annoying. Okay. So you'll just have to bear with it. Just work with it, not against it, if you know what I mean. All you're doing is you're covering the spine and you're giving yourself the minimum of a 1/2 inch black border there onto that chipboard. Okay. I could have done with mitre in that. Am I bothered? Do I actually want to mitre that? I think I'm actually just going to lift that up and mitre it. Only reason being, okay, just mitre it. Then when I lay my paper over, I've got a nice angle here, the same as I have there. So yeah, this is why it's always good to watch my videos through, because I will adjust things. If I think there's going to be a problem, I'll adjust it. So we're mitering this. So what that means is just taking the corner off, not right up to the score line. Just take a little triangle off, just so it's got a neat kind of a edge like the corresponding side, so that when you then lay your paper over, it's just going to look neater. Okay, it's just going to look neater. Okay, and then I'll show you how to do the spine, and then I think we'll leave it for today, because I'm also uploading some more things for my Ko-fi members today. So I will go away and do that, and then I'll film the interactive elements. Right, so you're just gonna have to keep working it until it's dried. Okay, I'm just taking off any excess glue because I don't want it showing. This is a glue eraser. Okay, and just work it into those gussets carefully. Carefully, just keep turning it round. Okay, I'm working it in gently whilst you lift it at the same time, but gently. Gentle hands. Gentle hands. Okay, now because I messed about with mine, my glue's dried too quick, which is another reason why I prefer tape, because it just saves you messing about. Okay, but you will find I am one of those crafters, and you might think, oh gosh, does Amanda know what she's doing? The difference with my channel and other channels, or a lot of channels, is I don't edit out. If I'm doing something that's not going to plan, I leave it in. I don't fast forward it or skip over it. I leave it in, and I'll show you how to keep working on it to get it right. Okay, we don't edit out our mistakes on this channel. Right, so I'm happy with that now. And now what you want to do is go and leave that to dry. And then once it's dried, give it another burnish in there. Okay, and eventually you'll give your card the memory, and you'll be able to close that. You'll be able to close your covers. Okay, don't try folding it all the way down. It's not a fold flat cover. See, that's not, I'm probably going to end up going in with tape. So you don't want to glue, but yeah, just give it a chance to dry. Okay, and keep working on it. All right, keep working on it. It will come. It will sort itself out eventually. These things sometimes take a bit of time and a bit of work. Like I say, a lot of people will edit their videos and edit this kind of thing out. I just leave it in. You can always fast forward. But I like to show everything, so that if you making a mistake and then you see me and mine looks perfect, you'll be like, I'm not doing this right. It doesn't look like Amanda's. Okay, trust me, nothing ever 100% goes to plan. Okay, but that I like it. It's problem solving. I have heaps of problems. Right, so I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make the spine. So this spine is going to lay on top of that spine when it's dry. We're just going to glue it down. But it's been measured and constructed specifically for this project. So this needs to, you need to cut a piece of cardstock that measures 8 1/4, or again, 1/4 inch shorter than the height of your book. Okay, if you're not doing the same sizes as me. And it wants to be, what did you do? 3.5. 3.5 wide. Okay, then you want to put it in your scoreboard. And along the 3.5 inch, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch. Then, just to make it our lives easy, so we're not thinking of funky measurements, turn it round, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. So you've got here 2 1/2 inch scores. fold and burnish those in both directions. If you've got good cardstock, it will not split. Fold and burnish them in both directions. And then here you've got 1.5 inch in the middle. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. These 2 1/2 inch sections here, we're going to miter the top one. Okay, top and bottom. Top and bottom. I'm not using this one, I'll make another. But I've done the white marking so you can see what I'm doing. So only up to the first score mark, you just miter in, top and bottom. Your pages, your interactive pages that I'm going to show you tomorrow, are going to attach on here up to the first score line. Then we're going to leave 1/2 inch. And that is so that our pages open nicely. Okay, they don't catch, etc. Okay, and so you do the same on there. Then we're going to, quite simply, we're going to lift those 2 half pieces up. We're going to glue or tape that. We're going to centralise it in there. And we're going to make sure it's straight. And we're going to centralise it. And we can centralise it easily by folding those flaps in. Okay. And you want roughly as close as you can get to 1/2 inch from your gusset on your spine to here. There and 1/2 inch there. So you should have 1/2 inch. Okay, roughly 1/2 inch. There we go. Okay, and then at that side 1/2 inch. If you need to make pencil marks so that you're getting it in straight. Okay, and then it will line up, because I've done it the same size as this, it will line up there. But just keep looking and keep making sure it's straight, and you're only gluing that central section down. Okay, I hope I've explained that fully. All right. And then once that's glued down, what you've got in the middle here is 1.5 inches. All right. So what you want to do, if you measure, if you take a pencil, and you can do this before you glue it down if you want, if it helps you mentally. I don't mean your mental, I mean, you know, help your brain work. We've got 1/2 inch gaps. Everything's 1/2 inch. We've got 1/2 inch space between the cover and the beginning of this. All of these are 1/2 inch. And then in here we're going to have a 1/2 inch space. Then we're going to have a signature. 1/2 inch space, signature. 1/2 inch space. Okay, so everything's done in 1/2 inches. It's just an easier way to show you how to do your spacing. And it also gives us lots of lovely spacing, okay, for your signatures, to embellish them. And it is giving you 1/2 inch each side of your interactive element to make room for flips and pockets and adding photo mats and embellishments. You can really go to town. So I'm giving you lots of space. So once you've constructed it, okay, and you put your signatures in and you've done the interactive elements, if you think, well, it looks a bit sparse, it won't once it's decorated and filled with stuff. Okay, we've got to remember we design these things to give them chance to grow. Right, so you will attach that to your journal. Okay, glue it down. And then what you can do if you want to get ahead, I'm not doing mine just now because I need to redo it. If you want to get ahead, once this is dry, you can add your eyelets. We're doing the Midori style binding. So what you want to do to add your eyelets, okay, is you want to be marking with a pencil in this central area here. You want to make a mark 1/2 inch from here, from the end of this flap, 1/2 inch in, then another 1/2 inch, okay, and you want to go up from the edge, up 1/4 inch. So you'll make 2 marks at the bottom and 2 at the top, 1/2 inch in, 1/4 inch up, then another 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch up, make a mark, punch your hole. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for just now, and I will be back tomorrow with the interactive elements. Okay, I will very quickly show you how to add your signatures if you've never done the Midori style before, and we're going to be doing some of the interactive elements. Okay, so I will see you back in class, bright and bushy-tailed, tomorrow. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.